my new beading studio here. I haven't set it up fully, but at least I have a little bit of a background to get us started. This is a brand new type of video. I've never done this before, and I'm definitely outside of my comfort zone, but I just wanted to have an opportunity for a video series where I can just chat with you, have a nice little convo about what's been going on, about a certain topic. Maybe it's within beading or small business related, and just have a little cozy convo with you. So today I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things. I'm going to give you a little bit of an update about how this all happened, why I'm here, but also about beginner beading mistakes. And I'm going to share with you the top 10 that I feel are really holding back beginner beaders with progress, and hopefully it might help you to progress on your beading journey. So grab a cuppa. Maybe you are just having a cozy Sunday or you're at your beading table, but go ahead and grab yourself a nice little warm cozy drink and let's get into it. So first of all, I moved. I swear I have moved so much in the past few years. I'm so sick of it, but it was a very welcomed move. It is quite spectacular, actually. It happened in a very sudden, very serendipitous way, and my husband and I now live in our own little place. It's a really cute little apartment in a town that we have been desperate to move to in the Cotswolds. So we do live here in the Cotswolds now, and it's been a dream. It really has been. It is such a nice little area, very artsy, very young and youthful energy here. There's also some amazing elders in the community, but we just have more things going on and more people to socialize with and things to do, and I just love that. It's been lovely, and really like-minded people as well, so love that. But yeah, so I'm here in this new little studio. This is the loft space in our apartment, but I haven't done much to it. It's been a lot. Moving is always like that, just like living out of boxes for a while, but slowly but surely getting one room done at a time. The kitchen was the main place that I wanted to get done, so I got that done first, and it's lovely and cozy. But this has been the last stage because I was just living out of boxes, and US shipping because of tariffs was paused anyway for ages, so everything kind of just stayed in boxes, and it became just not very inspiring for me. Just last week I was coming up here and just feeling like I don't feel inspired to work. I don't know what it is. The desk was over on that side of the room, and I just had to change everything. So I've changed out the layout. I love this. I love this little background. I think it's so cute. I have some shelving going up, just like starting to get rid of boxes and get things out of boxes. There's still so much work to be done here, but we're getting there. We're making progress, and I felt inspired enough to make this video, so we are getting somewhere. The other update here is that, yeah, like I'm filming on a new camera. It's a new phone, but it's only for this. Like, it is just for work. It is a work phone that is basically just my camera because I don't want to faff with cameras. I find these just so much easier to work with. So that is, like, what do you think? Good quality video. What are you thinking with that? I need to fix the audio still, so it's a work in progress, but one thing at a time. I wanted to stop making excuses and actually finally sit down and film. So here we are. I feel like that's a win. The idea was to upgrade not just the quality of my videos, but also be able to do some vlogging. That is the goal. So keep me accountable with that. But I do want to do that. I just want to have more fun with the videos that I make. I have not been as consistent on my YouTube channel or even on Instagram because it was just cranking out tutorials all the time, and the problem with that is that I have to like be creative and find something new to create and show you how to create. And tutorials take quite a lot of time, not just to film and edit and all that kind of stuff, but also to ideate. So I was just finding myself kind of hitting a wall. And now I want to diversify what I actually present to you. I have so many different ideas for how I want to bring value to you and how I want to help you, whether it comes to beading or to small business related stuff, or even just like lifestyle stuff in general that I think is really fun. But so this was one of the things that I decided I wanted to do in order to break through that creative rut and have some more fun with the content that I create. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you enjoy this different setup and this different vibe. Please let me know in the comments so I know if you even liked it. This is so totally outside of my comfort zone, so I might need the encouragement to do it again. Yeah, like the idea here was really just to have a cozy little time, so I'm enjoying it so far. The other updates I want to give you, one is that US tariffs, right? What is going on with that? Well, US tariffs were really quite annoying. There's just been so much that has gone on in the past like year and a half with shipping that has made shipping worldwide really complicated, especially for small businesses. And the US tariffs really hit me hard for the business. I genuinely thought that I might have to close the Wholeness Shop as an online store because like 80-90% of my customers are US based. So that would have made it really hard. And I had so many people reach out with help and ideas, and I really appreciate that. It just goes to show how amazing this community is, and I love that so much. But I was able to figure it out. So US shipping is now reopened. Yay! I'm so happy. Like, it's not even just the financial aspect of that, and it's really the dream of having my bead store and being able to keep that dream alive. And I find it so fun to curate different bead palettes and beading kits for you, and it's just really exciting. So I really enjoy that, and I'm really happy to be able to keep doing that. The other thing, what was I going to mention? Was there anything else around shipping? Currently, I just heard that there might be a Canada shipping strike again, so we'll navigate that too. We'll get through this. Honestly, after so many different shipping situations, I've just decided that, you know, we've gone through it so many times already. We're gonna get through this one too. So let's just not worry about it and let's just move on. Well, I'm just gonna trust the universe on this one. The other thing I'm just super buzzing about right now is the fact that Fringe Mastery, which is my signature program, is currently open for enrollment. And one of the reasons why this is so exciting is because this only happens twice a year, usually in spring and in fall. So right now I'm taking in applications and I'm doing interviews and I'm welcoming in some new ladies into the program, it is so rewarding to have these phone calls and to really connect with these women on why beading has been such a big part of their lives, or why it's made such an impact on their lives recently, whether it's women who are mothers who have either little kids or empty nests and they're really looking for time to just have to themselves, to really like reclaim that part of themselves and to be a whole person again, really. And so that's beautiful. I really love that. And we also have people who are coming in because they want something to distract them over the winter in a really positive way. And I can relate to that so much because already in these sweaters and cozy socks and things, I'm like, oh, this is like the nice part. Fall is like when the air is crisp and we're just kind of like, oh, it's a little bit chilly, let me get a cup of tea. But winter is coming. Like, this is just the tip of the iceberg, and I always forget how depressing winter can be. So I can totally relate on wanting to have some type of project, something to dig your heels into and distract you for the winter time, so that when spring comes, you're coming out of spring just like a rejuvenated person, having not just survived winter but also coming out of it with a new skill, like really deepening your skill set around beading. So that's really cool. And if you don't know about the Fringe Mastery program, it is pretty epic. You should definitely check out the website. It's packed with information and knowledge and guidance from me on how to really upskill your beading, not just for fringe earrings, which is what we particularly focus on, but with your beading and your artistry as a whole. So I really take you from the basics all the way through to the advanced level beading around fringe earrings. And it's quite a transformation. It is not just learning nice tension and all that kind of stuff, but it's also like design 101 and being able to feel really confident about your skill set in beading so that you can charge the prices that this beadwork is really worth. Because come on, let's just be honest here. Beading takes a really long time, and a pair of fringe earrings takes hours, and most people just don't feel confident charging the appropriate amount for that kind of work and that kind of time commitment. So if you can transform from being a hobby crafter making cute little handmade stuff to feeling like a handcrafted artisan, that's when you're going to feel like you can actually charge the prices that your beadwork is worth. And you'll also be attracting the type of customers who actually appreciate that as well. So I could go on and on about that stuff, but it's pretty epic. There's so much in it. We go really deep on materials and beads, and it is perfect for anyone who is either a beginner, a total beginner, who is just really in love with beading and wants to learn it the right way and feel really good and like collapse time, because it took me years to perfect my fringe earrings. So I put it all in a progressive order for you so that you can just seamlessly go through that journey and that transformation. But also for anyone who's an experienced beader who feels like there's pieces that are missing but you just don't know what it is, because really the way we learn typically as beaders is either we have an elder who teaches us, which is such a gift, and most of us don't have that, or we scour the internet for tutorials and try and piece everything together. And what happens with that is that you have some conflicting information, you have guidance that maybe leads you in the wrong direction. Everybody has kind of their own style and things that they use, and that doesn't always work for everyone, and it doesn't always work as one cohesive unit to have perfect tension and beautiful designs and everything nice and crisp and clean to a professional level, where, you know, like professionals are selling a pair of fringe earrings for like $200 plus US. So if you want to feel like you have all the different steps and stages and pieces of the puzzle put together all for you done in a program with the guidance from me right there, able to answer any questions you have. We have like 2 group coaching sessions where I can give you direct feedback, but also in order to graduate, we work on making sure that you're mastering all of those fundamentals so that you're not just given a course and then, you know, go off on your own trying to figure it out. But I am actually there with you every step of the way to ensure that you get the progress that you're looking for. And anyway, I'm going on and on about this, but the point is that if you want that done for you, then Fringe Mastery is so perfect for you and is waiting for you, and the doors are open right now for you to go ahead and submit an application and jump on a call with me so that we can really explore and see if this is the right fit for you and if you're a right fit for the program as well. So I'll leave a link in the description below that you can go ahead and take a little snoop around the website, look at some of the testimonials from our graduates, and just, have a look at what it's all about because it's a really hard thing to describe in a nutshell. So I've put that whole website together to try and lay it all out. I have the whole layout of all of the different modules and everything that's included. So go ahead and check it out. And if you are on a budget, don't worry. We have payment plan options. I really try and work with you to ensure that we can get you in. So don't hesitate to apply anyway. So yeah, I'm stoked on Fringe Mastery right now. But other than that, I am just trying to find my equilibrium again with content creation, as I mentioned before. And yeah, so I'm like doing some experimentation. I'm working on some projects behind the scenes that are top secret. Can't talk about them yet, but I'm buzzing about them. And I've been working on some new projects for the She Creates membership and just doing kind of stuff like that. So that's sort of a very long-winded update, but those are the things that are kind of going on right now. Also, for those of you who are wondering about my health situation, I've been dealing with some health issues for several months now that kind of all came to a head when we moved here, and I just felt like I had jet lag every single day. It was quite something. I went through loads of different tests, did some of my own natural interventions, was able to reverse my hypothyroidism naturally, which is amazing because the doctor actually wanted to put me on medications that I probably would have ended up being on for the rest of my life. So I'm very glad that I was able to advocate for myself and took matters into my own hands first before having to just jump into some pills. I don't want to do that. So that happened. I also got a bunch of scans done, loads of things. And right now, as far as I'm aware, from everything, all the data that we got, I have a clean bill of health. So I am so grateful for that. I am so grateful for that because that was a little bit scary, and it's just really hard to not know what's wrong. And I'm not like 100% at the moment, but my energy is getting better every day. I'm really just trying to take it easier. I really think that it was probably a few different things, including the thyroid, but also just like burning out my system. And I don't know that much. I'm not a doctor or anything, but I do feel like adrenal fatigue may have been the cause. Some people are going to come after me and say that's not a thing, but I think it is a thing. I think that my adrenals were probably just totally shot, just like producing cortisol all the time. So I'm focusing on not stressing. And I think that regardless of if you believe that's a thing or not, I think what we can agree on is that stress is not good for the body, especially for women whose entire systems function on hormonal balance and how much cortisol can affect that. So yeah, like just try not to stress so much. And that's working for me so far. So that's what I'm trying to center everything around. And that's what this like little cozy convo is kind of leaning into, is let's just stop trying to make everything so polished and perfect and stress about all of that kind of stuff, and just like have a nice little chat and have a good time and share value and share a cup of tea. Okay, let's get into my list here of the biggest mistakes I see beginner beaders make, and there's 10 of them. Firstly, using the wrong needle. This is a very basic one. Most of you guys are going to be like, yeah, okay, I already know this one. That's cool. I've got that nailed down. But if you're rather new to beading, you might be using a sewing needle instead of a beading needle. And the problem with this is that beading needles are specifically designed with a very thin, very narrow eye of the needle. Actually, I'll use this example. I'm just dropping everything. So if you have this needle here, which is a yarn needle. Can you see that? Let's see. So this is a yarn needle, and as you can see, this edge here, this is the eye where the opening is, and it kind of goes out, kind of gets bigger as you go to the eye. But with a beading needle, it is the same width all the way through so that it can fit through the bead really easily. So if you're having trouble getting your needle through those beads, that's probably why. You're probably using a sewing needle or an embroidery needle instead of a beading needle. So it is actually very important to use a beading specific needle. I really like the brand Pony or John James. Those are fantastic. They're actually made here in the UK, and they're fantastic. So I have those on my website. The other thing, let's find my phone here, very related to the incorrect needles, is using the wrong type of thread. A lot of people will just recommend a single thread, and that's great. It's something to get you started. I do the same with like Nymo is like kind of the easiest go-to. Nymo is also just not the best quality. I would say that Miyuki beading thread is actually better, but there's two things here to note with the wrong thread. One is the type of thread, and the other is the size of the thread. So for the wrong type of thread, it really depends on what project you're working on. So if you are working on something like peyote stitch, which is very tight, you want everything nice and tight, or even like square stitch, again, nice and tight, brick stitch, nice and tight, then using something like Fireline, which is a more plastic, like kind of, it's like fishing line essentially. And so it has a bit more of a thickness to it, a sturdiness to it. That's going to be really good for things that you want to be nice and stiff or structured. But if you want something very fluid, like your fringe that you want to have a lot of movement in it, then you're going to want something more fluid, more flexible, like Nymo or Miyuki, which both fall into the nylon beading thread category. So you have more fishing line type and you have nylon type beading thread. So that was the type of thread, and now for the type, like for the type of specific project, but now you have the wrong size. So the wrong size really depends on the size of bead you're using. The most typical size bead we use is size 11.0, and that's usually with a size 10 beading needle. So what you want to focus on here is, can the thread fit through the eye of the needle easily, and can multiple passes of the needle through my beadwork pass through easily? So typically I recommend size B Nymo beading thread, or Miyuki is already size B, so that's fine. That's like done and dusted. But if you're using really small beads, or you're making lots of passes through your beadwork, then you're probably going to want to both size down your needle and size down your thread. You can go as low as, I believe it's size O beading thread, and you can even go down, I think it's like a 00 needle, something like that. But the idea is here, make sure that you're using the right type of thread for the specific project, and if you need to, go ahead and size down. But the typical thread that I recommend the size is size B, and again, Miyuki beading thread is just size B. So that makes it so much easier. You don't have to think about it too much there. All right, so number 4. Oh no, that's number 2. So number 3 is using super cheap beads. And this is fine if you're just practicing. In fact, I would encourage you to buy cheaper beads, but not just like dollar store or like Amazon beads, I would buy pony beads, which are these really chunky, large beads. Get some yarn and get yourself a a yarn needle. And that way you can practice with the big beads and get the technique down. But in terms of cheap beads, you really don't want to buy Amazon beads. You really don't want to buy just like any old beads that you find at the craft store, because most likely they're going to be extremely wonky, really inconsistently sized. And for longevity reasons, these are not going to be reliable. They are more likely to have finishes that rub off really easily, and especially if you're selling your beadwork, you just don't want to give your customers a piece of beadwork that is just going to wear off after a couple uses. So I think many of you watching will already know the type of bead I'm going to tell you to get, but my favorite, my go-to is always Miyuki, specifically the round beads, because those still have quite the classic look to them. You can use Delicas as well. They just have more of a boxy look, but I love my Miyuki rounds. It's what I stock in my store for that specific reason. They have really great like Duracoat finishes and such that help with longevity, especially for things like metallic finishes that rub off really easily. So highly recommend getting yourself some quality beads. And if you're looking for a done for you kit, I have done for you kits on my website that have all of these things I talked about, the needles, the thread, and the beads, all done for you in a kit with a nice little palette, nice little color palette of beads that's specially curated, already ready to go. And that leads me to the next one, which is utilizing wax, which, by the way, my kits come with a little custom bar of wax with my own blend. But wax is really great. Like so many different projects just really benefit from having wax so that you don't have slippage when you're actually trying to like get that tight brick stitch or peyote stitch. So having the wax coated on your thread helps kind of like glue them together and create a little bit more friction so that they're not slipping so easily. It also helps to avoid fraying and knots and all that stuff that just gives us an absolute headache. You can use beeswax. Beeswax works fine. I do find it's a little bit flaky, especially in the colder months. So you can either like warm that up in your hands a little bit to help, or you can get like a blend, for example, the kind I use, which has some like blended organic plant oils in it to kind of soften it up a little bit. But it's really preference depending on what you like to use. The next one is buying a pretty pattern that is far too complicated for a beginner. So if you are a big beginner, this is for you. I know we get tempted to just buy whatever adorable pattern that we see out there, but the problem with that is if you don't feel confident in your skills yet, especially in the techniques of like brick stitch or peyote stitch, you're gonna have such a headache trying to follow a pattern that has so many different color changes, and you're probably just going to get really frustrated, disappointed, and like lose your interest in beading. And we don't want that. We want to make sure that you have a very smooth beading journey. There's always going to be complications. There's always going to be, you know, thread knots and frays and annoying stuff. That's always going to happen. But if we can avoid it as best as we can, especially as you're a beginner, then we want to do that. So I would say find a pattern that is specifically designed for beginners and start there. Or if you're looking for something that's free, I have stuff that's free on my YouTube channel. Loads of stuff there for beginners. All right, what's the next one here? Using too much thread at once. Basically just like getting overwhelmed with so much length of thread that you have more, like way more knots and just so much chaos. Fraying can happen as well too, but the main thing there is knots. The more thread, the more option for knots, and we want to avoid knots. Like, so much. Knots suck. So try to give yourself enough thread so that you're not having to add new threads all the time, but not so much thread that you're going to be overwhelmed and end up super frustrated. So I would say usually you like spread your arms out and go from the tip of one finger to the tip of the other, and that's, for me, it's around, I think it's like 160. I always forget. Let me see. So 61 inches. That is an arm span length. So when you're a beginner, I would say more go to like from the tip of your finger to maybe like the armpit area. That's like, can I get this all in frame? That's plenty. That's even maybe a little too much depending on the project that you're using. Remember, you're going to be doubling it up. So I would say that's plenty. And that is about 38 inches. Try to aim for that when you're just getting started, and just practice adding on a thread. It's not too hard to do that, but it's going to avoid massive frustration with lots of knots. The next one is not taking your, I'm saying not, yes, but not that kind of not taking your time with technique. So I already mentioned that a great way to practice is with big beads, some yarn, and a yarn needle. And really, for beginners, I would say take your sweet time practicing with big beads like that until you really feel confident with the technique before moving on to tiny beads, because it's so hard to see what you're doing with tiny beads. There's so much more like going on there that you're going to feel really overwhelmed quickly. So master it with the big beads. Really do it, because you're going to not only feel really confident about the actual technique, but when you move down to the smaller beads, it's going to be a little bit more natural feeling for you, and you remove the element of the tininess of the beads when you practice with the big beads, which just makes learning easier. So highly recommend doing that and taking your time, because you're going to end up a better beater when you have your technique down. And I even recommend that for beaters who are experienced. Go back to the basics and practice and practice and practice. That's how I became a bit better beater myself, especially because I teach so much with those. It definitely helps me to continue to refine my technique. So number 8 is copying other people's work without their permission. Firstly, I understand. I've been there, especially as a beginner. I definitely copied other people's work because I didn't know any better, but also because I was building up my confidence. I didn't really have any knowledge of how to design for myself, and I just saw some pretty stuff online and thought, oh, I can count those beads. I could do that. That's easy. But the problem with that is that you don't have that person's permission, and this is art. And so you're effectively stealing someone else's design. Yes, even if you are just making a pair for yourself or for a friend or family member. And that's just not ethical. So I want to make sure to guide you away from that and help you to learn the ethics, but also the etiquette around being a bead artist and being part of the beading community. So if you are still working on building up your confidence around designing, there's absolutely no reason why you can't use other people's designs as long as you have permission, either asking, or I would actually lean away from the asking, because it's kind of, not everybody's going to be like happy about even asking. I would just stay in the area of looking for patterns that are available, like on Etsy. Etsy has so many patterns to choose from. And there's a bunch of free stuff as well on YouTube, for example, or on some people who teach on the websites. But also, like, I have a load of patterns available on my website, most of which are very tailored towards beginners. And build up your confidence around just the technique and things like that with other people's patterns, and then branch out and, design with some color pencils and some paper if you want to, or get some tablet templates. Like, I have tablet templates on my website. Just have fun with it. But you don't have to feel like restricted just to designing your own if you're not ready to do that. Like I said, there are so many patterns out there to choose from, and there's some really, really nice ones as well. Number 9 is analysis paralysis and stuck in a scroll and save loop. I'm a little bit guilty of this myself, to be honest. Analysis paralysis. So what does this mean? It means that you're on Instagram, on YouTube, looking at all these awesome tutorials, all these awesome projects that you want to do. Maybe there's some of mine, and you're just like saving them for later. Or you're looking at all the techniques and you're feeling overwhelmed by it and like, oh, I'm not ready for that. But you're just going to get stuck in that after a while. Like I said, I'm guilty of this myself, of just like, oh, save for later. But when are you going to actually take time to practice those things? So making sure that you're not leaning too far into just consuming and not creating. Making sure that you are setting aside time to actually work on your craft, practice the techniques, and start making stuff. Even if it's not great the first time, I promise you that the only way that you're going to get better is by practicing. You're not going to become a better beader by watching other people bead or by looking at and idolizing other people's work. You have to practice. That's just what it comes down to. So this is a little, motivational speech here for you to get out of that analysis paralysis. Last but not least, and this is kind of everything. This is like, no matter what it is that you do, if you allow it to, it will lead you here. And that's giving up too soon. Giving up after a few struggles, or letting self-doubt hold you back. This is not just a beginner's problem, by the way. This is for anyone at any stage of beading, including myself, as someone who would consider themselves a professional beader, professional artist at this point. We are all susceptible to this happening. So be aware of when that little self-doubt creep comes into your head and tells you, you're not good enough. Oh, it's too hard for you. You'll never be able to do X, Y, and Z. Because I promise you, that little voice is not right. It's incorrect. You can do anything. You really can. You can definitely bead, for sure. It might take time. It may take a lot of practice, some guidance, some help, but I promise you, you will learn how to bead. And you will not just learn how to bead, but you will become the artist that you are meant to be, as long as you put enough time and dedication into that. And practice is key. It really is. But getting past that little self-doubt monster is why we have bead artists in the first place. All of those bead artists have gone through the same process of having self-doubt and saying, I'm not going to listen to that. I'm going to do this anyway. Or I'm going to do this in spite of my self-doubt to prove myself wrong. So don't let that affect you. Don't let it stop you from beading. Don't let it stop you from pursuing your beading dreams, whether that's selling your beadwork or doing a project that is super hard that you're like, will I ever be able to do that? Trust me that you will, as long as you put the time and dedication into it and you take your time with it, right? That doesn't mean that you have to quit your job or something like that. You can make time for your art, and you can make enough time for your art with consistency to progress and to become a better bead artist and to reach those goals you have. And one of the things I will say here too is that You are never too old to pursue your dreams. You are never too old to learn beading. Like that's something that, like, I hope that I never have that thought in my head as I grow older, because it's something I was thinking about even just yesterday, how lucky we are as humans to have the ability to have a life full of learning throughout the entirety of our life. And it's something that my great-grandfather taught me too. He was always learning until he was like nearly 100. So you're never too old to bead. You're never too anything to bead. You are totally able to bead as long as you take the time. Just take the time and practice and keep at it, despite the struggles, despite self-doubt, despite anyone else telling you otherwise. Just keep going and you will get there. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little cozy convo with me with some tea or whatever you're doing. Let me know what you think. I'm very curious, and let me know if you have any questions about learning how to bead. It's really what I've just like dedicated my life to doing, is helping other people learn how to bead. So it's my job and it's what I love doing. So if you have any questions, pop them in the comments section and I will get to them, I promise. And if you are looking to learn how to bead and want to get started, I have a free guide linked in the description of this video to get you going. And welcome into the beading family. You're gonna have a bead addiction now. I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry, because it's the best. So I really look forward to doing another one of these. It's very interesting to just ramble on, and so I hope it's not too much rambling on, and I hope you enjoyed it. So I'll see you in the next one.